Hello and welcome back, everyone, to a comic review on video. That's right. I'm going to start bringing you some comic reviews on video more often. And today I'm going to start out with a book that I reviewed on site. And you can read the written review there, but I wanted to bring you this video review as well for all of you YouTube viewers and anywhere else you might be able to view this video. And today we're going to be talking about the newest one-shot from Mike Mignola and Dark Horse Comics. That's right, we're talking about Hellboy, the Seven Wives Club. Most of you may be pleasantly surprised if you haven't been following Hellboy, that even though his story wrapped up a while ago now, Dark Horse and Mike Mignola have decided to keep releasing either miniseries or one-shot comics that follow Hellboy and his adventures in a variety of different scenarios. And I'm a huge Hellboy fan, and I have to say, in all honesty, in my opinion, that some of the best Hellboy stories have had nothing to do with the main continuity or the storyline that went through all of the Hellboy books that followed his transition. And we're not going to get into that right now, but if you've been into Hellboy, you know what his main storyline was, what was going on. But oftentimes, Mike Mignola has done this thing, and other writers have done this thing where they've decided to take a particular monster or write a story that's a one-shot that focuses on Hellboy and oftentimes his work for the Bureau of Paranormal Research and Defense. And Mignola has done this here, and I think he's incredibly successful. I mean, in the past, he's done it with A Christmas Underground and also the Penangalan. Great stories. If you haven't seen them before, go check them out. Just spooky and vintage Hellboy, vintage BPRD. And so here we have the Seven Wives Club. Mignola's writing on this book is probably some of the best I've seen him do with Hellboy in a long time, because Mignola is able to write this book in such a way, and I'm not going to give you any great plot points or anything. I want you to enjoy the book for yourself if you haven't picked it up and read it yet. But Mignola can tell a scary story, a ghost story, a haunted house story. That's kind of what this one is. It's a combination of a ghost story and a haunted house story in such a way that it draws you in. It builds on the world and the lore of this universe that Mike Mignola has created and populated with all of these characters for Hellboy. And oftentimes the best stories allow Mike to show that Hellboy, even though he is demonic in nature, is probably one of the most human and caring superheroes deep down that exist, especially in this universe. He truly cares about the people he's trying to help. He's truly trying to overcome his nature. And in this particular story, the Seven Wives Club, he is partnered with a BPRD agent. And oftentimes, Mignola will create these BPRD agents that are around for one or two stories. They're almost expendable. They're like the red shirts of Hellboy. They don't always die, but they come and go. But in this story in particular, Hellboy, his humanity is revealed, and his sense of duty and honor and some sort of obligation to the people under his charge is revealed through these BPRD agents. And this has been Mignola at his best, because he's taking Hellboy and then writing the duality of his nature and then letting that play out on the page. And Mignola is incredibly successful at this. I can't say enough about how great I think Mike Mignola writes this book. And so let's get right into it. So this is the book, Hellboy, BPRD, The Seven Wives Club. Really, just you look at the cover right off the bat, it grabs you, and we're going to get into this art in a little more detail. But for me, right away, I want to know more. The BPRD agent is front and center, but there you have Hellboy standing over her, shielding her from the ghosts in the background. Obviously, there are 7 there. So, right off the bat, looking at the cover, you're like 7 wives' clubs. There's 7 flaming ghosts at the background. What is going on here? And it draws you in. So I've talked a lot so far, or most of what I've talked about is Mike Mignola and his writing. And, I could go on for a long time about everything he's done in a variety of different formats, not just Hellboy. But I think it's important that the real star of this story is the artwork. And we're going to get into that in some more detail here, because this is really why I want to do a video review and go through the artwork here. And Adam Hughes, who has done some stuff for DC before, he's worked on Zatanna, he's worked on Wonder Woman. Adam Hughes drew this book, he drew the covers, he did the color, he did the whole shebang bang here. And I think his work is exemplary. In fact, I went so far as to say in my review that I think even though Mignola's work was top notch, he actually was surpassed by his artist here, and that's saying a lot. So, we've had a good look at this cover. Let's go to the next slide here and kind of zoom in a little bit more on what we got going on here. So this is the cover, zoomed in more. And one of the first things you'll notice is that Hellboy has a very distinctive look, especially when Mignola draws it. It's very angular. I'm going to show you some examples in a second. It's so distinctive that I assert, and you can agree or disagree with me, obviously, that Mignola's art style has influenced Dark Horse quite a bit in how they present their books now, specifically in titles like Black Hammer. We're going to look at that in a second. But you look at this, and this is definitely different. Adam Hughes has experience at the big 2. He's got an art style that, while it stays true to the spirit of Hellboy and Mignola Hellboy, he has brought in some of that stylization from DC Comics or Marvel Comics. And you can see that here with his depiction of Hellboy. Hellboy still has that angular face. He's got the short horns you've always had. But he's got a certain humanity to him and a certain, I struggle for the word, it's almost like a comic book realness to it. And it's the same thing with the BPRD agent. I'm sorry, her name escapes me. I should probably remember it, and I apologize if anybody takes offense to that. But she's very cool in the story. I like what she does, and I think she's drawn incredibly well. And I think Adam Hughes captures the faces. That's one of his real strengths here in this book. He captures faces and brings out emotions and humanity in those faces and in Hellboy. And the way he's drawn Hellboy here, Hellboy, when it's drawn by Mignola, and let me advance to the next slide here. You can see here, Hellboy, when drawn by Mignola, is very angular. It's very gaunt. It's got a stylized, almost a gothic grotesqueness to it that Mignola enjoyed. And that's what we've grown to love about Hellboy. But if we go back to this previous picture here and look at it, now Adam Hughes is giving us a different look at Hellboy. And Hellboy still has that length to his face, the gauntness in his face, the definite demonic features. But Hughes has managed to combine that with his personal art style and bring some dignity, humanity, and really a sense of what Hellboy is about when it comes to his honor, which is a large part of Hellboy and why he wears the samurai top knot on the back. He's got this sense that he has a duty to do something because of who he is and where he is uniquely placed in the world. And I think pictures like this that Hughes has brought forth really capture that feel for the book. So let's go ahead and go forward a couple slides here. And this is what I was talking about with Mignola's influence, I think, especially on titles like Black Hammer. I mean, the image on the left is classic Mignola Hellboy. And then you've got Barbellion from Black Hammer. And then you've got, her name, I think that's Golden Gale there. And a bunch of the others, and it's not a 1-for-1 match to Hellboy, but I think there's definitely an influence there. I could be wrong, but that's just kind of what I choose to believe. And I just wanted to throw this out there and let you think about it, see what you think. Let's move forward. All right. So This is one of Hughes' panels, and this is when they're doing some investigation in this house and doing things like that. I think this is really a successful panel in that it's subtle, it's understated. The coloring is definitely not saturated. There is a good amount of heavy inking here, but that heavy inking allows you to frame the panel with those cobwebs, which is they're very successful, and gives you this sense of mystery in this. And you're going to see some other panels in here where there's other stuff going on in the story. But because the way this one is framed and drawn, you really, at this point in the book, are, it's like leading up to a jump scare in a horror movie or something like that. You know that there's something coming. It's sinister and eerie, but it's also quiet and understated at the same time. And so it builds suspense in the book. And Adam Hughes does this very well. So you combine Mignola's excellent writing with an artist like Adam Hughes, who was able to bring this and build suspense in the story. And then, as we're going to see later, exploit what they've built on earlier in the book and exploit it to actually, surprise you and draw you into the story and draw you into other elements or types of scenes. It's really effective. So this is a great example of an artist and a writer working well together. So let's go to what I got going on next. All right. Now, this is a great panel by Adam Hughes. This is something you don't often see in your standard Hellboy book. This is something, I might see in a Hellblazer book, on DC. You might see in a Ghost Rider or Doctor Strange book this effect. He's drawn it in such a way. I mean, you've got that middle panel, that is classic Hellboy. That is a classic grotesque in an angular angular fashion, understated. But then he's showing the reactions of the two characters with that lighting coming up from underneath it. And the lighting and the shading he does here is just absolutely fantastic. And this is a classic lighting that you actually use in a horror movie or something to convey the same emotion. And here Hughes has used it in a Hellboy comic. And I went back and looked. You don't often see this. There are a few standalone books that have like covers or the inside drawn like this. I think right off the top of my bat, Hellboy versus Lobster Johnson has some of this work in it, but not to this degree and not for the same effect. So I thought this was really impressive. This is an example of Hughes using his particular talent and his art style to convey something that is unusual in a Hellboy book and really sets this one apart. I'm going to go into my scores later on at the end of this video, but I think this is one of the best Hellboy books that I've read in a long time, if not ever. So let's get to the next one. All right. So this is action. So Adam Hughes given us some, pure action here. There's nothing particularly scary about this, but there's a couple elements I wanted to point out here. One is from a story standpoint. This is Mignola once again using Hellboy and showing how Hellboy is willing to sacrifice himself for the mortals that he works with, the people who are really in serious danger. The BPRD agent there has no powers. Hellboy is willing to get like gang rushed by all of these demons or ghosts or whatever you want to call them and send away the BPRD agent, and then you look at the action itself. This is drawn really well. This looks like something that can come right out of a Ghost Rider book, to be perfectly honest with you. It kind of reminds me of that. Or like I said, once again, Hellblazer, maybe a Doctor Strange book, Dr. Mirage, or any of those types of supernatural books. But this is not, this is some sort of hybrid version of your standard Hellboy book and something you would get in a more traditional, darker themed comic book that you would find from other publishers. And then this is really kind of the creme de la creme for Hughes's work in this book. This is something I would expect to see in a very top tier indie book, horror book. maybe a Hellblazer book, and that is about it. You don't see stuff like this often in like a lot of DC and Marvel books to this degree. I mean, this is an incredible panel for a lot of reasons. First of all, you look at the color. Most of the color throughout the book is going to be very understated. I don't know that the digital copy is giving you as much as the paper copy would get. I have an actual physical copy as well. But the color here really pops, it stands out. And throughout the book, Hughes does this. The color is understated like most Hellboy books, but at times with very extreme emotions, Hughes uses color and actually saturates it and brings it forward so that the whole panel almost screams at you, pay attention to me. Then you've also got the word, the stop there in the background. I really like this layout like this. The inking here is incredible. You look at this panel with ink. If the inking was not done as well as it is done here, this whole panel would be very flat and awkward. You wouldn't be able to distinguish what is going on. I mean, obviously, Hughes' anatomy is right on point, which is kind of strange for a Hellboy book, like I said, because oftentimes the features are exaggerated and gaunt, but not in this book. Hughes has taken a different approach to Hellboy, and it is really, really good. You also look at, the inking on the wall, the inking on the particular BPRD agent that sets her apart from the corpse in front of her. And this whole panel drawn together, it may appear simplistic, maybe to some people, not simplistic, not as complicated to draw to some people, but I think this is really shows incredible skill, incredible use of ink and color, perspective, and framing. I think this is just a really powerful panel. This is the kind of thing, you bump it up. I might almost want to frame a panel like this and put it on my wall, So I think this is really cool, and I hope you enjoy it too. So let's get then to my final scores. So for this book, let me adjust this here. Boom. Writing, it's hard when you start doing all these reviews. I don't want to give out 5s all the time. I try and be stingy with them because pretty soon, I'm just giving 5s all over the place, and then nobody's going to pay attention to what I'm saying. Like, oh, every book's a 5 when Nemesis reviews it. Mignola's writing is great, and so is it something that is like the greatest thing I've ever seen in my entire life? No, it's wonderful. And so because of that, I gave it a 4.75 out of 5 stars. Should you take from that there was a problem with the writing? Absolutely not. It's a very, very good job. And so he gets a very, very good score. Art, because of Hughes and his work on this book, and it's something I've never seen from Hellboy before, and how effective I thought it was in telling the story, I gave his art a 5 out of 5 stars. I kept ink and color to a different standard, but the overall artwork that he did, the line work he did, the perspective, his work on the faces, his ability to have action and suspense, everything else, bumped that score and gave him the full 5 stars, the full marks. Ink and color, you've seen he used both very effectively, worked in tandem with the story, worked in tandem with his line art, just top notch from beginning to end. And so it's a 4.8 out of 5 on inking. You got a little bit higher score in inking because of how effective it is in conveying that emotion and also bringing depth to panels such as the last one that I showed you. So I got the 4.8. And then the color I thought he used very effectively as well. So all of that together, I think it would turn out to be like a 4.72 or something like that. We're not going to get ridiculous like that. So this is a great book. They deserve to get bumped up. So my final score for Hellboy 7 Wives Club by Dark Horse Comics, featuring the writing of Mike Mignola and the artwork of Adam Hughes. And I do not want to forget the letters by Clem Robbins. As Johnny Hughes always tells me, if we didn't have letters, we wouldn't have a comic book. And that's absolutely true. So Clem Robbins did the lettering on this book. Overall score for this book is a 4.8 out of 5 stars. Highly recommend it to anyone who enjoys Hellboy, horror comics, great artwork. Excuse my phone there. Yeah, just a great book. Supernatural. You will enjoy this book. If you're not into Hellboy, get into it. You missed out on something, but it's out there. It's in trades. You can find it. You will enjoy it. Hellboy is a wonderful, wonderful title. And I'll be honest with you, when they're releasing Young Hellboy in February, and when they kept releasing these Hellboy one-shots, I was a little bit worried that this was just a big money grab. And maybe it is, maybe I'm sure there's some monetary value to it that they want to get out of it. I mean, that's kind of why they're doing it. Besides the love of what they're doing, they do want to make some money. But this fits. There are holes in the story where they could put new stories in. Hellboy had many adventures, many cases that he went on for the BPRD, and that's what they're giving us. And so I appreciate it, and I very much enjoy it. And we'll see what happens with Young Hellboy in February. So for that, I am going to say thank you for watching this review. I hope you enjoyed it. Please check out all of the stuff we have on comiccrusaders.com. Listen to all the podcasts that we have available on the YouTube channel. Please hit like and subscribe down below to the channel. And I hope you enjoyed it. And I will talk to you soon on some subject. Who knows what's going to come out? Pay attention. For now, I'm out.